again, we're copying somewhat of the style of Black Hills Gold jewelry, only we're doing it in silver. And they started doing Black Hills Gold silver, back in the 80s, maybe even sooner than that. However, I was one of the first ones that kind of developed the sterling silver look of Black Hills, and I was selling it out of my store years ago. And then of course it caught on, and the commercial companies like Landstrom's and Coleman Fizel and Mount Rushmore Jewelry, Stompers. They're just Gold Digger. There was just a slug of companies up there in the Black Hills that made this, and mostly they were around Rapid City. And so we are looking at doing similar stuff, only because gold is terribly expensive, and if you're just learning, which is what the intent of these jewelry lessons are, is to get you orientated in how to make some really fantastic jewelry. And I've changed my idea here that I would like to show you when you're making this jewelry that it's possible to sell it. You know, the wire jewelry and stuff is fairly easy to accomplish on your own, but the craftsman of silversmithing and goldsmithing and casting and wax carving, that's all something that you have to take time to learn. So one of the important aspects of doing this is to learn how to kind of sketch out your idea. You can do it with color pencils and make it look 3D and get a better idea of how you want your piece to look. What I'm trying to do is just get you started in that direction, and then if you need help, I'll certainly pitch in and give you my 2 cents. But today we're going to make, this will eventually involve 4 silver leaves. And rather than the grape leaves, I chose just to make similar, just a pattern leaf. So what I did is I drew this out about 3 or 4 times until I got the idea of what I wanted it to look like. So we'll take the silver leaf, which is this part right in here. I'm kind of outlining it here for you. And then we're going to put a piece of silver wire right down the middle of that and tack that in there, or solder it in there. And then we're going to come around and we're going to make a curve and form a jump ring here, right here, and then form another jump ring here. And we'll do the opposite. We'll tack a solder joint here. Our solder joint will be here. This will be tacked into the leaf, or soldered in, and it'll go around and come up on the other side. There'll be a jump ring here. We'll put a jump ring, a little piece of silver here with a jump ring and a jump ring. And then we can put a chain, and I'll use Figaro probably, and go up to an 18 or 20 inch pendant. And then you could do so many other things once you've made this design. You could put a head right here and put a little birthstone in there. Geez, it's just, this is so neat. And if you follow along and you get the right tools, you're going to enjoy putting this on your website or your Facebook, or selling it to your friends, because there's nothing more fun and enjoyable of making jewelry and to sell it at a profit. So we'll move on now. We kind of got the idea of what we're going to build. So the next thing is to draw out your leaf. So I used a yellow manila envelope, and I just kind of kept drawing it until I got kind of the design I wanted. And then what I did here is I glued the envelope with hot glue onto the silver. So now that lets us cut these out. And once you have one, then you can just use a silver as a template and continue to make them. So that's our goal today. We'll make, to start with, we'll just build the pendant. And then if you wanted, what I had in mind is that the leaves, we can make 2 leaves, and we'll just put a little curved rod on that, and those will be the earrings. So you'll get a rather large pendant and then 2 earrings, single leaf earrings. Or you can make doubles. It's up to the individual, but right now we're trying to design it, and then we're going to try and follow through on the design. So we'll get started now. This is, I think this is about 20 gauge silver. It doesn't matter. If you have 22 gauge, that's fine, or if you have thicker, that's fine too. I like to work with fairly thin 20 gauge. It works better. Okay, well, first thing we do is we want to cut that out. And I've showed you how to cut them out. You can either use a jig, or you can just use your fingers. You put them in here, and you just start by leaning the jeweler's saw inward a little bit just to get it started. And you don't want to put much pressure on it. Oops. Okay. Behave. And you see how easy that is to cut out. Now if you let this silver plate slide on you, you're going to break the blade. And I buy these blades by the hundreds. I do believe I sell them. Another little pun. I do sell them on the website. Reasonable too. I buy them by the thousands. I'll leave a description and a link in the YouTube there where you can look at the website and buy the tools and stuff you need to learn how to do this. This is really fun and enjoyable. People any age, 15 years old, 14 years old, right on up to 70. It doesn't matter. If you want to enjoy a hobby, or just something to enjoy making, and this is a wonderful craft to get into. It takes so very little equipment, and you can just buy it as you go. The crazy glue kind of wants to stick on this just a little bit, and we're going to come right off of that. See how easy that was? So, okay, let's continue this. I used some Dykem blue and stained my silver, and it doesn't stain clear through, it just puts a surface coating on there. And that's just one of a dozen ways you can probably do this. You could glue your silver piece down and cut it that way too. But I'm just going to put my finger here. Shoot. And use my scribe. Okay. Don't want it to move. There we go. And then we cut a second one out, and I think we'll go ahead and probably cut 2 more out to make earrings out of. Haven't decided yet, so we'll keep moving along. I'll get this one cut out, and then I'll show you how we're going to do this. Okay, these are fairly close to each other's in style. Once again, no two leaves are really identical as a rule, so we're not interested in making it identically perfect. We just want to shape them so that they both fit the design we drew, which we did earlier on this episode. So the next thing to do is I want to get rid of the piece of paper on this. And that's easy enough to do, and just heat it up. And it burns right off. So that's another way of doing it. And make sure you know where that piece of paper went, because it is on fire. I'm going to burn that glue off there a little bit. I don't like to get it on my Mizzy wheel when I'm polishing and cleaning stuff up. Alright, that does that part. So now we're going to have to come up with our design. And I don't want them both going the same way. So I think what we'll do is we'll set this one high and set that one low. And we'll make our solder joint right here. But before we do that, we're going to have to cup these, and I always like cupping them because they look nicer, I think, instead of just flat images. So I usually use a dapping block. Weighs 100 pounds, this one here. And oops, this one here. But don't just go out and buy one till you see whether you really enjoy doing this jewelry work. And there's other ways to accomplish the same thing. Go to the hardware store, any of your hardware stores, and we can we'll just, this is a piece of hard oak. And I'm just going in the middle, and I'm kind of shaping around that so I know about how big that is. And this is a ball burr. And you can pick these up on the website. These out of the way here so they don't fall off. And we're going to just cup it. All we did was just cup it a little bit, and you can practice with that a little bit and you'll learn how to do that pretty easily. So then we got to make sure that we go opposite directions, so it doesn't matter which one you start with. And we'll just kind of tap them in there. Now, I didn't work on that very long, but if you have to kind of go deeper to the center and then just work your sides out. But here's a $60–70 block and punches, and I think on the next lesson I'll show you how to make a punch too, so that you don't even have to buy a punch. You can just do it with some regular steel. It's not hard. It takes a few minutes, a little patience. Alright, now you see what we got here. And pretty close. There we go. That's how that's done. So the next thing we want to do is the other one. Alright. We've kind of polished up the feather or the leaf, I'm sorry. And I'm using 18 gauge wire. Didn't need to really be that much, but I didn't have any 20 because I sold out, so I have to get some more. I should have some by Friday, but this will work just fine because we can file this down to anything we want, or we could actually do some bright cuts along the top of this. So I'm using a third hand theoretically right here. That's a third arm, and it's holding the holding my piece. And all I did is I stuck the wire. I formed the wire around the curve of the leaf, and I put some silver paste solder on one side only. So I'm going to heat from this side, and I'm going to draw that solder paste carefully, not to overheat the wire. But I'm going to draw that paste to the other side, hopefully, without melting everything. So I think if I do this. Alright, we'll just give it a try and see what happens. Okay, my solder's smoking. Let me shut this light off. This blue flame right here, right in that very top edge, right there is your hottest point. And that's where you wanna bring the torch in and work it as you do it. You don't want to leave the torch sitting in any one area. So we'll heating the whole leaf up, getting out here. Whole thing's starting to turn red. That's a good sign we're about ready to melt. And we're melted. Alright, that takes care of that. Now we're going to have to get this little front piece right in here. So don't pick it up. It's going to be plenty hot. I'm going to come right over here. And add a little paste solder the rest of the way down. Once again, I'm just going to hit the general area here. I'm just going to work pretty much, see where I'm bringing that tip pretty much to this side, because I want the solder to flow on this side, but I don't want to melt everything else in between it. Okay, I think that did it. Yeah, we got that in there nice and neat. We'll let that cool for a second. And then we're going to shape that. Let me see, it's kind of what we're going to do next. We're going to take that wire and we're just going to kind of shape it around like that. And then we'll solder the other one on, shape it, and then we'll solder right in here. That'll be our last. We'll solder here and here. That'll be our next step. You got to become a little bit more clever with this thing. Okay, this is kind of the look I'm going for. This loop's going to go in that direction, and then we'll solder another one on here, and we'll go the opposite direction. Then I'll offset the two leaves and solder them together in the next stage when it was PM. But alright, so now we want to come this direction, So to do that, I just want to bend it around just like that. Ah, forgot about that. So our next thing is to get our wire so it looks halfway decent. What we're trying for is to get that as close to about the center as I can. Since this is an odd shaped leaf, it's not going to be perfect. Paste solder. Now I want to move the arm down. And all we're trying to do right now is just get it started. Then we can shape it wherever we want from there. So let's take our little torch. Oops. Watching the solder. Make sure I got it in there. That's done. This one come out a little smoother than the other one did. I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on that other one to get it to round up a little bit. There we go. Well, it's not cooperating very well. All right. Excuse me. Oops. What do you think? I think it's going to come along pretty good. We'll do a little bright cutting in there until we get this all cleaned up. And we'll make another loop just like this one. We'll solder, we'll solder here. We'll solder this, and we'll make a loop here, and we'll solder on the other side. 3 more solder joints. Then we can start shaping this the way we want it. And I think this is going to come out really, really pretty. So this is definitely a seller. So stick with me here as I'm going to go ahead and throw this in the pickle pot and clean it for a little bit. Okay, we've cleaned our leaves up, and we're going to go ahead now and solder between the 2 leaves. And we'll do it from the back side. I've already put the paste solder on. That'll be a little too hot. And I might need a pick. We're going to put a little more paste solder on here. Now all through this project I've only used one hardness. I'm going to use this titanium pick so I can control the solder. I think my torch just ran out of steam. Yeah, it did. How about that? Inconvenient time. And there we go. You don't want to hang on very long when you start to see it flow. And you got to watch, because it was starting to flow here but not up here, so I had to bring the torch up to here. And then as this started to get too hot, I had to bring it back down, and then of course it all kind of flowed together. And that's what you're looking for. Ooh. Look at that color on that. Man, that's almost pretty just the way it is. Now, the next thing to do is make a loop here and polish this up a little bit. I want to try and get this flat piece out of there. I want that a little more round there. So I'll probably put that in a dapping block or my little oak block I made and see if we can't pin that out a little bit. Ping that out a little bit. So that's going to be our next step, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll put this in the shellac deal, which I've made these. I'm going to try and make about 3 or 4 of these, see how long what it takes. These are really neat, but I need to put a little handle on this so you can just hold underneath of it like that. So I'm going to make them a little different. This one's made from my engraving block. So I'll make another one, but I'll make it a little different. So we'll see how it looks, and if it looks good, well, we'll put it on the website. So I'd imagine these are going to be right around 15 to 20 bucks, but they're worth it, believe me. So let's get this measured out, and we'll go. See how I don't move it, I just move the pliers. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is solder these little two pieces together. I just fire these on, squeeze the button, and there we go. Now I'm wondering, oops, thinking about how I'm going to make those just a little smoother. Okay, we've got our little leaf all polished up. We are just a little kink in here, and I'm going to leave it alone. You know what? It's custom designed and it's custom made, and you get what you get. If you want it commercially made, you'll have to make it about a dozen times and make a mold. Anyway, I'm going to do it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to bubble up my shellac. And I just want to drop it in there at the very edge. And the reason for that is because I don't want to bend these any more than I have to. So I can't take this little kink out of here, so we'll just have to go with that. Okay, we're doing what we call wriggle cutting, and almost all of the Black Hills Gold jewelry is done this way. So it does two things. It kind of hides the polishing problem. And it really designs the leaf. It makes it look really sharp. Yeah, we got a little carried away there. Not taking a lot of pressure on this. And that's how it's done. Now to put the bright cut on the leaves, a couple ways you can do it. I'm just using a, see if I can find it here, flat square, a flat graver. Same one I used to Regal with. You can use a diamond engraver, or you can use a knife edge engraver, or you can use a ungulate. I just use whatever I have handy. You just come in at an angle. Just like that. And you go on the other side and do the same thing again. And we're going to do just a little bit of adjusting here. And this one here is done, and I'll show you the finished. I don't know that I'm going to put a chain on this right now, or I'm going to make a chain link type of chain for this. I'm still debating, but we'll show you the finished product here when I'm done. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we're going to modify the jump rings, and I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to slip the chain through instead of cutting the chain. Or I might just go ahead and split the chain and put on two ends. But you can kind of get an idea of how this is going to look. This is pretty much a finished project. And it's two leaves, not actually the Black Hills style, but it's still cut the same way as a Black Hills style. And a lot of fun to make that. I still have to make two more leaves, and we'll make earrings, so it has a three-piece set. I'll just use single leaves to make the earrings with. And you could either make them post, or you could make them with the French ear hooks. So, and our project here is pretty much done. Now we're going to make another one, and our next project is going to be something like this here coming up. Show you here in a second. We're going to make little dangle drops, and we're going to put a leaf up here that's going to come down. Let's see if we can get a little of this out of the way. These are going to be little drop earrings. And it'll look something like this. And I think I'm going to put pearl in the middle of this. This is jade, and I think I'm going to put a one more strand in here, or one more string, and then we'll go ahead and put a little Black Hills gold feather off the top here, or a little leaf, one or the other. And then you'll have three. You'll have this and the pearl in the middle of that. I think that'll look pretty nice. And I'm going to use what I call it's a little oyster pearl like this. And it'll be in there like that. So that'll be our next project, and I'll show you how I make those. And hope you enjoyed this lesson. I've already put this on Facebook, and already have interest on it. I'm sure it'll sell. And the more of them you make, the more you refine them, and the better off they look. This one has a little bit of a kink in here. I think I'd have done that just a little different the next time. But it was a first time ever, so, and I put little bright cuts down the leaf, and little bright cuts on the sides, and it come out rather pretty good. So rather pretty good. They come out astonishingly good. So there is another project done in the Black Hills style of jewelry for profit, and I hope that you enjoyed My Bench Jeweler, and keep tuning in for some more lessons on how to do all this. So thank you very much for dropping by and